Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Jewish Health Podcast. The last few episodes I've been talking about some experiences. We've talked about my managed to 10K of my sister, which was lovely. We talked about my delays. Oh, I'm just sorry, this mic. Sorry about this. My delays when traveling to my cousin's wedding in Israel. And I feel like I've enjoyed just speaking improvisation, but I thought this week we got to get back to knowledge. We want to make sure that you're taking things from this episode and implement it into your life right now. And I thought this is a great opportunity to get back to it because a lot of people near this time in the summer, they may think, especially near the beginning of the year, like New Year goals, so on, blah, 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 blah. But now near summer, some people again may be wanting this, oh, I want to feel a bit more confident for summer, which is okay. And it's important you do it for yourself. And what you do is you look online, you check out some people on Instagram, and you're going to see a lot of lies. And and I'm just going to be debunking three myths which I felt guilty for. A lot of people advise you to do these three things, which I think you shouldn't listen to as a piece of advice. However, on the flip side, I believe I also went through this journey, which makes me a better person, and it's not a better person. It's helped me learn from his experiences and develop it into the things I'm doing now. So actually, these mistakes, these myths that I believed, I'm glad I did them because I have no regrets. And now I implement them in my day-to-day life. Well, don't implement them because I know they're all big myths. And when you look at starting your own fitness goals, or when you look at maybe you're complete starting, or maybe just getting back on track with what you want to do, it's very easy just to search stuff online. It's very easy to look at an influencer with millions of followers and be like, they've got a great body. I must do what they're doing. I must listen to the advice they're giving. And be really, really careful with who you listen to. And it's really important to find someone before I'm going to debunk any myths and shut out why these things that you may believe are complete rubbish. It's really important who you follow and watch on social media because you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And it's really, really important to understand that a lot of things you see on social media is so fake. You only see the happy sides. A few things I want you to look out for when you look at someone is one, if you're looking at someone with 1 million followers, I just don't think they're going to be as valuable to you. I think one, and this is going to be quite detailed, are they in great shape throughout the whole year? Because actually that's a bit of a red flag for me, because what you want to learn is you want to learn how to have a balanced lifestyle. You shouldn't be in shape or having that lean body for the whole year, because that's unhealthy, because you're not able to enjoy these social events. You're not able to enjoy yourself, and it's not very uplifting. And when you're comparing yourself to someone who is in shape every single day of the year, that's their job, and you shouldn't be comparing yourself to that. You shouldn't be comparing yourself to them. Something else you want to think about is them only having one method ideology. So a lot of people, and this is actually on both spectrums of extreme and non-extreme, is just having one methodology, like one idea which can help you get from A to B. If that's a diet, that's the only way it can help you. If that's a workout routine, if that's the only way it can help you. And that's a big red flag as well. And you should follow them because everyone's very, very different. Everyone's so different. Everyone needs complete different advice. Everyone needs complete different plans. Like I could name 3,000 things different from how I'm different to you. And that 3,000 things is going to make a huge difference in what I'm going to do in my training and what you're going to do in your training, what I'm going to do in my nutrition and what you're going to do in your nutrition. So when someone says you must do this and this is the only way forward, rubbish, because actually you're different to them. And just because it works for them doesn't mean it works for you. Just because keto works for them doesn't mean it works for you. And just because you like keto doesn't mean that means you can't have carbohydrates. That means you can't have challah, which sucks. So that's just one example of many, 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 many examples of who you shouldn't be following on social media. So let's get to these three myths. So the first myth is, and it's not a myth, it's like you shouldn't feel guilty. And this is I think maybe I should have started this at the beginning of the episode. You should not feel guilty when these things happen. And you may already feel guilty already from doing them. And now it's actually train your mindset of not feeling guilty because it actually doesn't really matter that much. So number one is feeling guilty when you've not sweated or you've not feel like you've done 100% in your workout. It's very common that you feel like you've got to do extra cardio, you've got to be dripping with sweat, the clothes have got to be another color of sweat, you've got to change color, you've got to be sweating, you've got to be red in the face, you've got to be exhausted after the workout. And I used to believe that. Like I was working out twice a day, non-exaggeration. I was working out twice a day. It's crazy. I loved it because I was getting endorphins, but I was making no progress because it was not necessary. I didn't have enough recovery. My body was not recovered at all. I wasn't making progress at all. What an effective workout means is if you're progressing in some way. If that's could be more reps, if that's could be more sets, if that should be it's more over time, it becomes more easier. If that's you're improving your form, if that's slowing down your tempo, if that's adding a pause, if that's you're feeling the muscle a bit more during this movement. And this is from a strength training perspective. Maybe from a cardio running perspective, maybe you can go further. Maybe you can achieve the distance a bit quicker than last time. Maybe you can do it a bit longer than last time. Maybe, maybe you feel a bit confident doing it. It's like all these things, you could do this and you're not sweating afterwards. The amount of times from comparing myself now, where I am today, to where I was 3-4 years ago, I think I sweat every so often after a workout. Beforehand, and I'm making a lot of progress now. Like my workouts, I'm effective. I'm gaining muscle mass. When I was I'm making a lot more progress, and I'm working out only 4 or 5 times a week now, probably 4 now. Years ago, I was doing maybe 14 workouts a week. No, not 14, 12 to 14 workouts a week, I would say. No exaggeration. And probably 90% of them, I was dripping with sweat. And you know what? I was making no progress at all because I wasn't recovered and I wasn't focusing things outside the gym. Just think about that. Next time you do a workout and you feel like you haven't sweated and you're not feel like exhausted, but think about it logistically. Have you made progress from the last session? And that's 10 times more effective than working out. Yes, you're going to get endorphins by sweating and so on, but you're still going to feel good by having a solid workout. But also that is by you being effective and progressing in some way, it's going to help you with things outside the gym, such as being more active, moving, gaining steps around the gym, gaining steps outside the gym, and your nutrition. If you're, sorry, a little side point. If you're burning sweat, dripping with sweat, you're going to be more hungry. You're going to be wanting more food, and it's going to be harder for you to control that nutritional balance. That's for another episode. But don't feel guilty. Oh, my water just absolutely slaps my microphone there. Don't feel guilty if you not drip with sweat. It's great to do it often, and it's great to do cardio, and it's really important that you do cardio. So it's really great that you sweat, but don't feel like you got to do it every single session. Number 2, you could probably guess what the second one, and it's to do with carbohydrates. Oh, the scary word that everyone hates. I just literally have had a big bowl of oats this morning, and I had some rice crackers with peanut butter and eggs. So a lot of carbs this morning because I've got a big leg day this afternoon. But also, carbs isn't bad for you. So again, 1, carbs makes you put on fat, carbs makes you put on weight, and that's kind of the myth. I mean, that's not true. And also feeling guilty for having carbs. So the science behind carbohydrates is a calorie. So there's the units of calorie and the value of the calorie is different in different foods. So for 1 gram of carbohydrates and protein, so 1 gram of pasta to 1 gram of protein powder is 4 calories. Okay, and with fats, it's 9 calories. So 1 gram of this and 1 gram of fat, peanut butter, is 9 calories. Now, how it works in the body is different. So when you have carbohydrates, carbohydrates holds a lot of water. So when you have carbs in your food, sometimes your body weight will go up and higher. It doesn't mean you've put on fat. It just means your body is storing this water retention, and it'll just go naturally. And this is why your weight will fluctuate, because you're holding water weight. Doesn't mean you put on fat. Doesn't mean at all that you put on fat, because if you just keep going, it'll go reduce. And if your goal here is weight loss, being a calorie deficit, and you're in a calorie deficit over the week, over the month, you will lose weight, so you'll lose body fat percentage. But just having carbohydrates actually doesn't really make a big deal, because you're just holding water weight. So don't have a fear of having carbs if you're hitting your protein target, and if you're looking into calories and so on. If you're hitting a calorie goal, then amazing. But when you're not, hitting calorie goal, and you're not focused on counting calories, or you're not focused on how much, don't be afraid of having carbohydrates, because removing them is just saying that it's a good or bad food. And then if you say it's not a good food, and then you've got a social event or you've got an occasion and there's loads of carbohydrates, you're not going to have the healthiest reaction. You're going to feel guilty for having it, and you shouldn't feel feeling guilty, because it's literally just food. And just because the scale says, oh, you've gone up in weight slightly, it's because you're holding water retention. And that's just, it's really, I don't know, I haven't understand where this came from, but I think a big point was because of all these crazy diets, and because influencers are being paid hundreds of thousands of pounds for promoting non-carb diets and so on. That's where it's all come, and it's rolled on. And yes, when you remove carbs completely, you lose a lot of weight quickly, because you're losing a lot of water, but you're not losing any fat. So as soon as you put it on, boom, it's weight. So actually what you want to be doing is you want to be trying to lose fat, and that's through calorie deficit. And sometimes you can be losing fat and maintain the same weight. Again, another side point, and this is going a bit detailed, but I want you to learn this, and I want you to have a little think about this when you listen to this podcast and you come back from it. You're going to be, and you listen to it again in a few months, you're like, oh, I understand that now. So always learn. And the last point is not feeling guilty when someone's doing something that you've not done yet. And it's like, could be lifting heavier than you, maybe they're having a different meal, maybe their strategy is different to you, and so on. And it can be quite, not belittling, but it could always be demotivating when you see someone lift heavier than you. It could be annoying when someone's doing new exercise, you're like, oh my gosh, they've got amazing muscles and they're doing this exercise, I've got to do that exercise. Or you're like, oh my gosh, look what they're eating today, they're so healthy, so nutritious. Why am I not doing that whilst I'm having my pasta or pizza and they're having this salad with tuna? And what you've got to understand is everyone's so different, and you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Like, it's just another thing. I know this is something that it's hard to, you're not going to listen to the episode of the podcast and be able to shut up that guiltiness tomorrow. Like it takes time to overcome this mindset and so on. But when you double down on yourself and your journey and really shut out everyone else's opinions, everyone else's journeys, and ensure that you're progressing, that's where the mindset changes. Because a lot of times you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Like, honestly, on social media, you're seeing a lot of, I mean, recently it's really good that influencers are coming out with both sides of the parties. But yeah, a year ago, or 2 years ago, everything was very, very fake. And even now, even seeing someone and they're doing stuff, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So what's the point of even comparing yourself? Even though nothing's happening behind the scenes, like everything's going how it is, how it's shown. But you don't know that. You can't guarantee for sure. And also you're on different stages. Like if you're starting your first week of you're trying to better yourself, you're trying to compare yourself, and you're trying to better yourself, you're trying to get and become a better version of yourself. I just said the same thing. Why are you comparing yourself to someone who's been doing this for 5-6 years and they're on it and they're so far ahead of you, but so different ahead of you? Like, they had different journeys to get to where you were. For you, maybe it's taking you a few years to actually start this journey, and credit to you. But maybe the other person, maybe they've had a family where everyone was they're sporty active and they've been active since they were a little child. And actually, when they joined the gym, it was very, very natural to them and they were able to progress. So everyone's so different. And again, if you double down on yourself, how you will progress, and if you've been on a journey for the last, let's say 6+ months, just appreciate, acknowledge how far you've come, even that in 6 months. I don't care if it's been a small stage. I don't care if it's been a small way or a large way. In some way, you have progressed. And for someone else, that might be tiny. For someone else, it might be big. But well done to you for progressing. And when you then double down on that mindset, because then you're going to decrease the chances of you comparing, feeling guilty. And we're not all perfect. Whoever you are, we're not all. We always do some comparisons. I always look at myself, and I always see someone in the gym, and I'm like, oh wow, their hat squat's a lot heavier than me. And I quickly remind myself actually how far I've come. And it's a natural thing. You compare yourself to someone, it's quite natural. But then when you compare yourself, reflect on actually how far you've come, and be like, yeah, you know what? Great on them. They've probably come their own way, and they probably struggled. They've probably progressed so much in the last few months, and so have I progressed in the last few months. And give yourself a pat on the back. So these little 3 things I don't want you to feel guilty about. Yeah, it's going to be like tomorrow, you like, boom, snap. I'm not feeling guilty ever again. And you've smashed it. But you're human. That's allowed to feel guilty sometimes. But I want you to acknowledge these things and actually implement them into your life. Because 1, you don't need to be sweaty every single workout. It's important to get the heart pumping. It's important to get a sweat on. Don't feel like you've got to do it every single workout. 2, carbs in a meal. You're allowed carbs in your meal. You're welcome. That's news from the Jewish Fitness Coach. And honestly, it's a shame that people don't enjoy carbohydrates because it's yummy. But I want to make sure that I don't say anything inappropriate here. But yeah, you're allowed. You shouldn't feel guilty for having carbohydrates in your food. It will all depend on your goal. If your goal is to lose weight and to lose fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So actually, you could have just carbs and be in a calorie deficit, and you'll lose weight and you'll lose fat. So actually, that's the science behind it. And lastly, stop feeling guilty when, or try not to feel guilty when you see someone else doing something that you've not done yet, or who is 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of you. Focus on what you're doing right now, and focus on how you can progress in the next few months, and then you can reflect on how far you've come and celebrate your own journey. And all these 3 things, the Venn diagram, the thing in the middle, is you and your mindset. If you focus on yourself and develop yourself, you work hard on yourself, you get more steps by yourself, you work out, you focus more on nutrition, you make some mistakes by yourself, you overcome these challenges. That's how you reduce the feeling guilty. It isn't like a walk in the park. It's a challenge sometimes, but all I can say is just focus on yourself, and then soon you'll be able to appreciate yourself, but also appreciate others, because that they've had to work really, really hard on their goals, the same way as you've got to work really, really hard on your goals. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you can take away some of these things and implement it into your life. And I look forward to one of you, other listeners, message me in 6 months saying, you know what, I'm really, really happy I listened to this episode. I'm feeling so confident and I'm so proud of myself for not feeling guilty anymore. So I look forward to that message one day. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you soon.